give them the points right now. Next up, Giants-Cowboys Sunday night. Two teams that had, I was going to say pros and cons. The Giants had pros and cons. The Cowboys had cons, lots of cons.
Right.
They just looked bad here in Charlotte. Their offensive line struggled, and that's a bad thing for them. That's a bad thing. I mean, their front seven on defense is pretty good, but their offense, I mean, they have no receivers, and if the offensive line struggles, I mean, poor Ezekiel Elliott is just going to have nowhere to run.
Yeah, I need him to be good because Dak Prescott is not a great quarterback. I mean, we've seen that he's not going to be a guy who can carry that team on his shoulders. He needs Ezekiel Elliott. And if you know, it's like we talked about this last week. I mean, 2 years ago, the Cowboys had the best offensive line that ever, it seemed like. You know, they were unbelievable. And now it's 2 years later with Travis, especially with Travis Frederick being out, that's a team that all of a sudden the offensive line isn't a strength anymore. And if that's not a strength and Elliott can't get going, that's just go down the domino list, man. It's going to be a terrible thing for them. And I wrote in my column, this is the game that scares the hell out of me. This
right.
is that game because I don't know what we have in either of these teams. Saquon Barkley had that nice run. He goes over 100+ yards. That's good. Eli Manning kind of sucked like he has always. It seems like the last couple of years. For what it's worth, Manning's lost 4 of his last 5 starts in Dallas, so that's not a good thing. It's just one of those games where you're like, man, neither of these teams are that very good, and I just don't know what to do here.
Yeah, I'm with you in that I'm not sure what to do. The Cowboys, I talked about the Cowboys offensive line struggling. Eric Flowers is maybe the worst offensive tackle in the history of the universe. So I think the Cowboys fans are going to run all over him. He's going to get Eli Manning killed before this is all said and done. I talked about this earlier this week with Fowler. I think this game is a toss-up. And the only thing about the Giants, I think I might have said to Ryan the other day, 2 years ago when they made the playoffs, they were all defense. They couldn't move the ball well. And their whole offense was basically, unless Odell Beckham took a slant and ran 60 yards, they didn't score. Well, now they have 2 guys like that. And it's not a great necessarily game plan wise, but you have 2 guys who could just, bust a play open anytime they touch it, which I don't know. In a game like this, I'm flipping a coin here. By the way, Cowboys by 3, over unders 42. I'm going to take the Giants.
I took the Cowboys straight up, but I took the Giants at +3. So that, for that to pay off, the Dallas will have to win 24-20 or something like that, whatever it is. Yeah, this is a tough game for me, but all right. Against Brett, I'm going Giants +3.
We got Giants. 67% of the pick watch experts take the Giants.